Hey, welcome to It Came From GenX. I am Keith Porter with Brian Fisher, aka Fishbone, Michael Skinner, aka Skinbone, and we are your hosts for this hour ride of life through the eyes of Gen Xers. We hope you enjoy the show, and we want to say to our friends in Ireland and our friends in Germany, Willkommen in der Sindad. Welcome to the show. That was my best German, so hope you enjoy it. Man, guys, sports. Crazy week in sports, a little bit crazy week in music, big announcements, and a little bit of pop culture / music. And, in spite of the whole COVID thing, the world seems to be rolling on in a lot of areas. So I'm excited about that. And let's say hello to our co-host, Brian Fisher. What's up, Fishbone?
Hey, man, how's it going? Good weekend. Shout out to two friends, Annie Cunningham and Jim Surma, who got married on Friday.
That's awesome. Great people.
Very nice wedding. So I've known Annie for many, many years. She's one of the younger sisters of one of my old friends and one of my brothers, Jim Cunningham. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, just a nice ceremony. Good to see a lot of old friends. So
that's good.
Great time. Congratulations to them.
Good. Skinbone, let's welcome Michael Skinner to the show. Your other co-host, what's going on, my brother?
Oh, just another, like I told Fish earlier, another day in paradise. We were at the reception for Jim and Annie on Friday. It was nice to catch up to a lot of people. Fish made a good point that it sucks that we're getting to the point in our lives where you go to two things, a wedding or a funeral, to catch up on life with a lot of people that you normally had seen in your younger adult life. So yeah. I agree with what Fish said, that we've got to change that and get that back on track, start seeing these people a little more often. But now Miss Marcy got to do some work in the basement this weekend. She's a little sore today, but she's a pro now at doing some work, ceiling work. So we're doing some texturing on the ceiling so we can get some paint on there hopefully this week. But the little one's got us busy.
You got a good one.
Yep. The little one's got us busy with volleyball this week. She's got she plays for the middle school, and they're in tournaments, district tournaments this weekend. So we get to spend the weekend at the Hudson High School, I think is where it's at this year.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so, good. Wish her luck. I had a pretty good weekend and went in the studio Saturday. Was there all day with the Diamond Phillips Band, recording an album with them. Recorded an awesome song and one take again. That was 2 takes last month. Got it in 1 take this time, so kind of excited about that. Next month they told me they wanted to do a song in half a take. I don't know how that's possible, but I'll try to figure it out some kind of way. All right, so welcome to the show, everybody. In case you're new to the show, we are just 30+ year old friends, brothers. We've been together forever. We've been through it all together, and this show is just about life, sports, music, pop culture, world news through the eyes of Gen Xers. We like to be nostalgic, talk about when was. We like to talk about the dichotomy between how we see things and how millennials may see things. Like to laugh, though we get very serious too with some very serious topics, and we got a couple on the show today. So first of all, Skinner, you want to give some shout outs to a couple of good people?
Yeah, I want to first shout out to Christoph Dominic at WNVU, which Fisher will announce here in a minute how you can catch us. We're on from 7 to 8 on the internet radio. Shout out to our boss, as we like to call him, Michael Skinner Jr., my son. Truthfully, my pride and joy. Couldn't be prouder of the man.
I will slap your son upside the head.
I raised him properly as being a Browns fan versus a Steelers fan first. No, very proud of what he's done. Very happy that he's part of our show. Nobody knows but us exactly what work he puts into keeping us straight,
and what he puts up with.
Right. It's not an easy task taking care of us three. But
when you become your parents.
Right. But he does a great job, and we appreciate that. Of course, Peyton Fisher's daughter has done work for us on the show as well, and Steele's done a little bit of work for us, your son. So
Yeah,
we do
it's kind of
appreciate
nice
our
to have all
kids.
offspring involved. Yeah.
Absolutely. Do appreciate our kids, and they are part of the show, which makes it even more special for me. So,
Well, they're part of us. So, all right, Fish, where can they find the show, brother?
Absolutely. Well, like Skinner just said, we can find us on Mondays, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern on WMBU.org. A streaming of our podcast is there for you every Monday. If you're on the go, just pull up that site, hit the play live button on your smartphone or otherwise, and you can listen to us right there. You can stream us whenever you want to on demand on your favorite podcast platforms. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcast, and more. If you do listen to us on podcast, give us a subscribe, and new episodes will download for you for free. And give us a listen on the go. You can ask your home assistant device to play the It Came From GenX podcast as well. We are on YouTube. It Came From GenX channel. You can see video versions of our show there. We also share those to our Facebook page at It Came From GenX. All social media links, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, all can be found on our Linktree account. Is the Linktree It Came From GenX. All links are right there for you. Easy to use platform, and the main one now is our website. It came from genx.wordpress.com. All show information is there, links to promos, links to all episodes, videos about us, all kinds of stuff there on the website. Go check us out. We appreciate your support. If you like our stuff, give us a follow, like, subscribe, and tell a friend. And spread the word. And as you mentioned already, Keith, our German listeners, we are now up to the most listened to country beyond the United States. So somebody out there is listening in Germany. So again, as you mentioned already, thank you for your support
I found
there,
out how
Germany.
we got German listeners.
How's that?
They found out how much beer you drink.
Yep.
Said this kid's got to be German.
That's right.
there you go.
That's right. German. And I do the Convincing Idiots podcast, as you guys know as well, for nerd and pop culture. And Germany's also listening there. So we have a theory. It's just a developing theory. Germans love David Hasselhoff and perhaps me. So I don't know. Just put it out there. I don't know.
I've heard that. I've heard that before.
It's just we're still trying to work it and prove it. And we have
Get
a lot
the
of
facts right. Yeah,
we
but
have a lot
I've
of
heard
analysts
it too,
and scientists behind the scenes. I think Mike Jr. is doing a lot of analytical work here to check that theory out. But that's just a small theory. So thank you for listening out there, whoever you like. Hopefully you like
Absolutely.
all of us, obviously. Yeah.
Hey, Convincing Idiots, that's our brother show.
Yeah.
And one day you are going to get us all together. So I hope you can handle it, people. Be ready for that.
Next week we'll talk about that if you can do
absolutely.
it next week. Yeah.
Okay, so before I talk about our gear here and our ongoing highlight of customer service, whether it be good or bad, we are in the Akron area here. I just got to make a quick highlight on situation in my house. Our refrigerator stopped working 2 weeks ago. It's only a year and a half old. Nice Whirlpool. It really had no reason to stop working. And
so if he called you and said, "Is your refrigerator running, sir?" You would say, "No, it's not." You'd be like, "Ah, man, shot down that prank call and just right there."
Right. So
yeah.
Anyway, we started living out of a cooler because everybody was so booked up with the help shortage. And it's been pretty rough. I was buying 2 and 3 and 4 bags of ice every day for like a week. Finally got somebody out here, and they come out, and if I can remember who it was, trust me, I would point them out. And this guy looks at it and goes, "Oh, you need a new fan and this and that, blah, 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 blah." And first he told us to turn the refrigerator off and take everything out the freezer and defrost it. So he comes out and told us we needed a new fan, this other crap. And he would beat this on a Friday. He would be back Monday with the parts to put it in. And we got to pay for the labor, the parts, the whole 9 yards. So I'm like, oh, okay, another weekend with ice in a cooler. Couldn't grocery shop because we could only keep so much, Monday comes around, nothing. Not even a phone call. Tuesday, nothing. Wednesday, nothing. So I'm fed up. I start calling a bunch of people again. After, a few calls, I finally found someone that said, hey, we'll be out tomorrow morning. The company by the name of S&S Appliance. They came out right when they said, guy looked at the refrigerator good. First thing he goes is, why did you unplug it and defrost it? He goes, I can't tell what's wrong if it's not running. I can't point out. I said, that's what this moron told us. Then he looked at it and he goes, there's nothing wrong with your fans at all. Listen, your fans are perfect. He goes, I don't think there's anything wrong with your refrigerator. He goes, it just need a reset. As a matter of fact, I can't tell until it's running for at least 48 hours. So just go ahead and run it. I'll be back in a couple of days. I'm not going to charge you a service charge right now. And if I come back, I'll charge you the service charge. And whatever we do is covered for 30 days, blah, blah, whatever. Well, the refrigerator ran all weekend perfectly. We were able to get some food back in the house. We were so grateful. And the consensus of the family was to call the guy anyway, tell him come on and look at it just to make sure. And if we'll pay the service, and if anything's messed up over the weekend or over the next 30 days, it was covered. And I let him know that. And he was like, dude, why even bother? So don't lose any money. Just if it mess up, call me. Then you pay the service charge and it'll be covered. But right now, just go ahead and enjoy your refrigerator and have a great day. Technician by the name of Sean. And I just wanted to highlight there's still honest, good people out there. S&S Appliance, good for you. And thank you very much. Okay. You guys ready to do a show? All right.
There's nothing wrong with our fans either, Keith. I'll just say that. Thank you.
There's a lot wrong with your fans. Trust me. I won't get into that. So Fisher's got his Seinfeld on today. We won't get into that because that's part of his segment. But he's wearing his Dallas Cowboy hats today. And I just want to say, as your friend, you, Coach Cooper, Mary Beth, all my nephew Charles, all of you, I'm happy for you, for your team looking good. I've seen the disappointment over the years. I'm sick of this team. Are you kidding? I've seen it all. I'm happy for you guys. You guys look like the real deal. Your defense is looking real. I'm happy for you. Skinner, I hate you. Junior, I know you're listening. And your Cleveland Browns. But I'm happy for you. But I want you guys to know, I'm repping the black and gold today, baby. We're down, but not out. And I have no shame in my game. So watch what you say, because we'll be back. That's all I got to say.
As soon as we pick it up at the quarterback. But moving right along.
Offensive line, defensive line, younger players.
Oh, now you want to name all our problems. Okay, really? Boy, that's so funny.
Hey, cheers, by the way.
Yeah, I got your cheers. Your 50 coaches.
It was
1 in 15 season, 0-16 season. Now you want to be cute all of a sudden. You got 3 games under your belt. You want to be cute.
No, the NFL was a great weekend for football all around.
It was an amazing weekend.
You'll talk a little bit more about it in your segment. I won't take it away from you, but really enjoyed the football this weekend.
So did I. The Tom Brady's return to Foxborough last night. That was just history. If you didn't watch it, you're an idiot. Whether you like Brady, whether you like the Bucs, whether you like New England, it was great. The emotions, to see him interacting with the owner, the coaches, and Mac Jones outplayed Brady last night. That was the most astonishing thing. And if it wasn't for a missed field goal, New England would have pulled that off last night. Yep. So it was just great to watch. Lots of great over the games. Both New York teams got a win yesterday, which is really cool. And
the Jets tried to give that game up.
They tried to. And our Ohio State alumni, Justin Fields, got his first win with the Chicago Bears. So very, very happy for him.
I missed that.
Yeah, very excited. Okay, so with World News, Skinner, take it away, buddy.
All right. Yep. It's this was first one will be world news because there was an outage clear across the globe today. Facebook and its identities, Facebook Messenger, Instagram, WhatsApp, and I'm sure I'm missing a couple others. About noon Eastern time, went down today. First, I thought it was a cyber attack, but I didn't quite catch exactly what happened. But as of about an hour ago, before the show started taping here, so about 8 o'clock Eastern, everything's finally back up and running. So with that, I want to go back to a Gen X time when we were growing up and ask you guys a question. What occurred during our time that would stop you from working, stop you from your everyday life? Not just necessarily work, because we didn't work. I mean, we were kids, we worked, but what stopped your life when we were growing up? It wasn't the internet going down for an outage. It wasn't these apps losing things. But I wanted to ask you guys, think back when we were kids, what occurrences happened that stopped daily life, whether that's work, school, everyday life?
But the only thing I remember is snow. So, back, it's so weird to talk about that, because it's like you just don't really see it in Northeast Ohio like we had when we were kids, with the changing climate and so forth. But it was definitely more prevalent when we were kids, that you would have a big snowstorm and you would have a snow day, or it would make it difficult. But even with that, it was still not many workplaces were closing down their workplace. I think the only time in my life I remember an employer shutting things down was a blizzard in 1994, and that was pretty bad. I remember even getting to work in my 94 Camaro. Jesus, that was tough.
Wow.
In Merrimack Valley, driving through there, trying to come.
Wow.
Got all the way there, and they wound up closing down the office for the day. And then I remember going up the hill at Merrimack Valley. My car was literally sideways driving up the hill to get out of there. That was pretty gritty. But other than that, I don't remember much of anything closing down our lives, except for extreme weather like that. So
it's what you're looking at. A guy, me and my wife at the time, decided to go to Niagara Falls in December in a Camaro. That was a brilliant decision. I'll tell you that story sometime.
Didn't think that one through, did you?
No,
rear wheel drive in the snow. No,
one of the scariest times of my life, I tell you. So, interesting question, Skinner, and a really good one. And the first one that comes to mind is one that's still true today, and that's the electric going out. But when I think about it, I think about it in two different capacities. Remember being in school when that happened? And I mean, it was just nap time, put your head down, that type of deal. Gosh, I used to love that, but hate it, because we got out of doing stuff and we got to take a nap. But at the same time, it was the worst thing waking up with the light coming on, and especially if you were a heavy sleeper, even as a kid, you got the slobber coming off your mouth and the cute girl in front of you looking at you. But I remember those incidents. Then, of course, bad lightning weather, of those rainy days with the bad weather, and your mom would make you turn off everything, and there was nothing on, no TV, no lights, and everybody was just sitting in the living room or sitting on the front porch. Those were awesome times, and I think I never thought about it like this then. I don't want to pretend like I did, but thinking about it now, it was a good moment to unplug and sit and talk and everything. Maybe it was a little superstitious back then, because now it's storms and everybody just keeps doing what they're doing. But we used to stop everything, turn everything off, if it was a bad lightning. And it was a good, quiet moment. It was good to unplug from all the phones and ringing, not like what we have today. But it was a nice, quiet, peaceful moment. So those are the things I remember.
That's an interesting statement that you made, that we unplugged, because that unplugging for us back then was turning television off and the phone not working, because you had to use electric for the phone to actually ring, because we didn't have cell phones. We had, and at that time, depending on when you're talking, is we had the walking phones, as my mom used to call it. It was the cordless battery operated ones that you didn't have the 50-foot stretched cord that you could walk around from room to room, and you had to hang it up. You had to get up to hang it up. So it's interesting that the dynamic of unplugging, what you mean by that from when we were younger versus how we unplug today. Now we unplug is we turn our cell phones off, we turn the TVs off, and we try to go to sleep. That's the only time people unplug anymore. I like to try to go once a year on a fishing trip where we go. You can't use cell phones because there's no towers around. So we literally unplug from society for 3 days. And it's very rewarding personally to me.
It is. Bringing it up, I can't remember the last time I did that. And just thinking about it now, I am going to plan me a time to make sure I do this. I need it. We're so wrapped up in the phones every day. I use my phone for everything. You know, I schedule my drum lessons. I talk to everything. But it's good. I remember the last time I did it, I went to Myrtle Beach with my wife. You guys all know Marianne. And the first thing we did was we walked into our room. We took off our watches and we took our phones and we put them in a drawer. Said we don't want to see them till the end of the week. And that was the greatest week, not knowing what time it was. Not have to take any calls. Man, I need that. I'm going to make sure I do that here real soon.
It is very therapeutic. And you also mentioned about electrical outage, and I brought it up in our pre-production meeting. When there was an electrical outage, when it pertained to us in school, the library's closed. We couldn't do our schoolwork. If we had a report to do, and you guys chuckled, the encyclopedias that almost every family had in their house.
Yes.
I know I had a set of encyclopedias, and I did a lot of work out of those encyclopedias. And if they weren't in there, I was down at the Kenmore Boulevard Library, down there doing my studies. So there's been I couldn't recall now any times that I was stuck because I didn't have that ability, but that would be our outage or our work stoppage would be the libraries were closed when it comes to us in school.
I remember that. Well, we sound old. We sound old.
I know, right? I'm thinking, boy, how far have we come?
You know what? Real quick, I remember you mentioned a blackout there. I do recall a blackout in this area. It was a pretty large blackout through the northeast part of the country back in the early 2000s. It knocked out a huge grid. You guys might remember that, but
from here to New York,
yeah, and that was like a day or two, maybe something like that. But I just remember when the power was out and it was warm. Too. I think it was the summertime. There was the point is people in the neighborhood kind of came out of their houses and you were just outside because everything was out inside and you were getting some cool. And it was those moments to where you probably saw some of your neighbors that you'd barely see at all. And it was just a small extra interaction with people just being outside and saying hello and talking through and just, hey, how are you? And stuff like that. You know, it took a blackout to have that little bit of a experience, but you know, I'm not saying knock the power out to do that type of stuff, but it was just nice to step outside and interact with your neighbors a little bit there. So that was it. So
okay, great story, Skinner. Thank you very much.
And I got one other one real quick before we move on, and you know, back when Chick-fil-A, remember when the Chick-fil-A Corporation came out? And they took a lot of flack because they were not open on Sundays, and they still aren't to this day. There's a local restaurant, and wanted to get you guys and I'll pose a question after done. Local restaurant chain here in Northeast Ohio. There's probably maybe seven restaurants. The Rockneys is the name of the restaurant.
One of my favorites.
Great place. Me and Marcy know the manager at the one in Stowe. A couple of the servers, the bartender there that usually takes care of us on the one booth that we always sit at. A couple of weeks ago, he came up to us and he says, yeah, you guys can't come see us on Sundays anymore. I have to give my employees a day off, so we are closing on Sundays starting, I think it was last week. Now, there's two things to that story. One is the work stoppage or the work shortage of workers. He had to take a day off and close the restaurant so he can give his employees a day off of rest. Unheard of. That there's a restaurant chain such as that, a retail place that they're going to lose money by being shut down, but his people and their well-being was more important than them staying open and overworking his people. So kudos to the Rockneys group. My question to you is if you can, we're going to go back. This is another Gen X topic. When we were kids, growing up, and even as young adults, things were closed on Sundays. It was a day to rest, like it says in the Bible. It's a day to rest. The only things I remember as kids being open were gas stations And some of those were even closed. Those that were only open 8 to 5 during the week, they were closed on Sunday. And a couple convenience stores and maybe one grocery store out of all the grocery stores that were available. But everything was closed on Sunday. Everybody had family time. Everybody took the day off. If the kids had sports or things like that, the parents were both able to attend because they were off on Sundays. I wish we could get back to that. I wondered your guys' thoughts, if you remember how Sundays were growing up and even as young adults when things were a lot slower than they are now.
Absolutely. Great topic. Before I answer that, I wanted to, I don't want to use the word correct, but clarify something, because it gets misconstrued a lot, that the Bible didn't say to rest on Sundays. What the Bible said was on the seventh day, he rested. And what the Bible says was keep the Sabbath holy. The one misunderstanding, there's a scripture in my Bible we live by that says, my people perish for lack of knowledge, means that people need to study the Bible. You would never pick up a law book and read a couple of lines and assume that you know what it means. Well, a lot of people do. They see one scripture and they run with it, and then it morphs into something else. But if you study the Bible, when you hear that Jesus did this on the first day, or God created this on the next day, and the third day, and the fourth day, and all this other thing, people get in their mind that, oh, this was done in a week's time. But the Bible teaches us that 1,000 years is like a day, and a day is like 1,000 years to God. So the first day wasn't 24 hours. It was over thousands of years, actually. That's why it took time for land masses to develop and water masses to develop and trees to grow. The second day was thousands of years, so on and so on. So just wanted to clarify that real quick. So, man, I tell you what, every job I've ever had, I made it very clear, as of the last 20 years, I don't work on Sundays. You guys know that's a very important day to me. And I boldly said that, and they were just like, well, I didn't just say that. I said, I don't work on Sundays. I'm in church on Sundays. And I've never had a manager, a supervisor say anything except, no problem, I respect that. So I've been very fortunate with that. But I think we talked about unplugging in the last little segment. I wish it would get back to that too, Skinner. I just think everything needs to slow down for a minute and regroup. Now, I know it gets inconvenienced sometimes when you need this or want that. Oh, everything's closed. And we get that. But the only time we get that feeling of how old Sundays used to be is on Christmas. Everything's pretty much closed up a few here and there. But now more things are starting to stay open now. But I tend to agree with you. I would like it to get back to that too. Fish?
Yeah, I do miss those times as growing up. Certainly, when it was, at least my house, it was a lot of family time. Dad was off. Now, as I grew up and as a teenager, Mom had to work on Sundays in retail when I was getting into my senior year and all that. But even with that, we always made it a point every Sunday we'd have Sunday dinner.
That's supposed to be beautiful.
with the three of us, these three of us, and if I was dating, so whatever. It was family time Sunday, and then we had the Sunday evening, television. I remember, like In Search Of and Walt Disney's, Sunday night show back in the day and stuff like that. It was just sitting there with the family, enjoying family time together, and that's what it was about. Even as I grew up, I mean, that was instilled with me for a long time. Even when I moved out of the house, every Sunday for years, even in my 20s, I would go home and hang out, probably do laundry a little bit, but still, I'd hang out with Mom and Dad and watch TV and just spend family time and Sunday dinner. I did that for
we
a
still
long
do it
time.
here.
Yeah. So anyway, I do miss those times. Absolutely. We all need to slow down and experience some of that.
Regroup. Yeah, it's really great. The family time is very important. No phones at the table, none of that stuff. We get to talk, and it makes a big difference.
Yeah. That phone at the table, that just brings up, I am so happy with our dining room table we have in this new house. So if you guys remember my old house, I had the rec room, and that's where the table was. We didn't have a dining room at the old house, so the family couldn't sit at the table and eat dinner. We were all spurts without the house.
Right.
Now at the new house here, we have that big, beautiful dining room table that we can sit.
Yes.
And sure enough, our
I've had
family's
a
so
couple
big.
meals at that table.
Right. And our family's so big, even with the 8 seats, we still don't have enough room for everybody. But
Wow.
at least we have a place that we can go to. And the rule is if we're eating dinner as a family, we're eating dinner as a family, not on the damn phones. So
There you
that's
go.
that's a good point that you made.
Yep.
So
Okay, thank you,
that's all I got, fellas.
All right, great stuff. All right, well, we'll move on to sports and music. And I'll try to get through this quick so we make sure we leave plenty of time for Fish here. Okay, quick first story. It's about as controversial as it gets. A New Zealand weightlifter who failed to advance beyond the first round in the Olympics has been named Sportswoman of the Year. Laura Hubbard, who became the first openly transgender Olympic competitor, was honored by the University of Otago last week, according to the New Zealand Herald. Hubbard, 43, caused controversy by making the Olympics, leading to a debate over whether biological women who should have been in the competition were pushed aside and the rules that allowed him to compete as a woman. Hubbard formerly had competed in weightlifting events as a man. Okay, guys, I know we have talked about this a little bit in a previous show. I want to make this quick. I don't know what you want to call it, but this little point that came to my mind today. They test for steroids in sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
And why? Because if you take steroids, it's an unfair advantage. Well, what hypocrisy is this saying? And here's the part that really gets me. This person competed before as a man. Are you serious right now?
Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow.
I'm just going to leave it at that. Skinner?
That's a tough pill to swallow. It's not the Olympic Committee that has endorsed this athlete. It's the country that they're from, correct?
That's an interesting question, but the Olympic Committee allowed it to happen.
Yeah, I don't see how that happens. And we did talk about this subject in a previous episode, and it was a pretty heated discussion there too.
Yeah, it was very heated.
We all agreed for the most part.
It was nothing against the transgender person.
No, not at all.
We're speaking up for the women that have worked hard, that have trained for years, and you can't tell me this is not an unfair advantage. I'm sorry, but don't spit in my face and tell me it's right.
There's medical and scientific evidence that the male body is superior to the female body when it comes to muscles, when it comes to stamina, when it comes to...
Hold on, man. I don't know about that. I'd rather squeeze a female body.
But you understand what I mean.
I know I'm messing with you. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's an unfair advantage for a man to play the same sport.
Athletically speaking, right.
Athletically speaking, and we talked about that. So shame on New Zealand. Shame on those that have put this athlete... Nothing against the athlete whatsoever, but you can't put somebody that competed as a man 3 years ago and now all of a sudden is competing as a woman. That's unfair to everybody involved. I
think when they got in the Olympics, you kicked all those other women, and now that they're down, you spit on them with giving this award.
Right.
Fish?
Yeah, I'm kind of in this. Yeah, and we're all saying it very clearly. We have nothing against if that's how you want to live your. That's no issues at all. Like you say, it's just biology. At the end of the day, and I'm with you as far as the unfair advantage competing against other women. At the end, I'm sure the Olympic Committee is like, what do we have to deal with here now? What is this? What's going on here? It's like, if we rule against it, we're going to have all this and that. If you rule for it, oh my goodness, right. I can't imagine being. You know what? They should honestly. What we may even see in our lifetime, who knows?
What?
Whole new. I'm not even kidding. Just have another. If your country has transgender competitors, let folks go out there and compete. It's just a different. I'm not even kidding. Or maybe the whole Olympics.
You're not, but I'm laughing because you know what I'm thinking about? Looking at your shirt. Yeah. It reminds me of when Kramer had lost his confidence on Seinfeld, and then he had got it back because he told everybody he was dominating at the dojo, taking karate. and they found out he was competing against children.
Against kids.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I remember that. I remember
He's
seeing that.
throwing all these kids around. And jumping around.
It was just like, yeah.
Yeah, that
Yep.
was great. It's okay. All right.
Oh gosh.
Okay,
Yep.
so next story, still in sports. Bubba Wallace today, NASCAR story. I haven't done a NASCAR story yet. Bubba Wallace won at Talladega, became the second black driver to win a NASCAR Cup race. Growing up, guys, there was no such thing really as a black driver in NASCAR. What is the stigma, or why there are no black drivers in NASCAR?
I don't understand it. I was a NASCAR fan growing up. My mom and dad were NASCAR fans. I've been to a few races, and I don't understand why there isn't more.
Well, you know what the old story was. The adage was,
it's the
it's
old
because the
country
track
boys
goes to the
racing
left.
cars. Yes.
It's because if the track goes to the right, we can do the Detroit lean.
is to the right. No, I gotcha. But
Yep.
all these years, I've never understood why there isn't more athletes behind the wheel of a NASCAR. I really don't.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think there's several answers to that question. I think NASCAR certainly originated from a lot of southern states, so I think there's a lot of not being welcome. First of all, that in previous years, but I also think that driving has never been. God, I'm trying to word this the right way.
Yeah, is it interesting to people? Is it a passion or something? I don't know,
Well,
man.
I think black people tend to be more physical, and so like a basketball or football or something a little more where you're using their body has appeal. I don't think driving has appeal to us like some of the other sports, like even in golf, the thing. So I just think I don't want to say cultural thing, but I think it's just one of those things where there wasn't just the welcoming of learning about it, to being engrossed in it. And I think once that happens, there'll be more and more black drivers in NASCAR. I totally thought it was the stupidest thing in the world until I dated a girl who her and her son were into it. And when they would sit here and tell me all these little things that go into it, and, what's a Heinz device and this and that, I was like, oh, man, this is amazing, what they have to do to drive these cars. And I totally learned to appreciate it. I didn't become a fan, but I certainly appreciate it. I felt the same way about hockey. It's white boy sport. Until at our beloved Ennis Junior High School, when we learned about hockey in gym, and then they had the hockey intramural tournament. And I joined the team, a second leading scorer in the whole league, and we won the championship. Won every game by 15 points. And I learned to appreciate how this game was played. Grew up being an Edmonton Oilers fan. Gretzky, Messier, Grant Fuhr, all these guys. So just a weird stigma. Fish?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. It's you just wonder what if I'm a young kid, like you say, what type of exposure do I have in my local area to get? It's golf is more prevalent now, like you say. Obviously, sports, football, you just go out and play with the kids on a court or a lot somewhere. So, as you say, hopefully young kids, whatever you're into, hopefully wherever you're at, you can get some exposure to something and develop a passion for something like that. So, yeah. So I think it's cool that he won. I think it's great. I think it's good for the sport. I think stuff like that, like with Tiger Woods and other prevalent athletes, gets another culture of kids that are into
the
something.
Williams sisters,
and you get diversity. It's great. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, I'm gonna do one more story here. I have some other stuff, but I want to make sure Fish has a lot of time. So the last story, I'm going to switch over to music. First of all, guys, there was nothing worth talking about this day in music. No birthdays, no deaths, no significant things that we would care about. So I just wanted to say that. But story came out at musicnews.com. Billie Eilish, who I think is the biggest joke in music today.
Tell us how you really feel.
Okay, I think she is ridiculously stupid sounding. Anyway, I know I minced words. I'm sorry. Billie Eilish has threatened to cancel Texas gig over controversial abortion laws. Billie Eilish considered dropping out of Texas concert over the weekend due to the U.S. state's restrictive abortion laws. As part of her gig at the Austin City Limits Festival Saturday night, the Happier Than Ever hitmaker blasted lawmakers for enhancing a law at the start of September in which abortion is prohibited once a fetal heartbeat can be detected. I'm sick and tired of old men, she told the crowd, when they made that S a law. I almost didn't want to do the show because I wanted to punish this effing place for allowing that to happen here. But then I remembered that it's you guys that are the effing victims and you deserve everything in the world, and we need to tell them to shut the F up. Okay, so you guys can say what you want about Billie Eilish and that particular subject, but I just wanted to talk about the past years of musicians becoming activists, if you will. And which ones that you thought were doing a good thing, which ones you thought were blowing smoke, or however you feel. One, I remember Chrissy Hine. She got in trouble with the Parisian police in 2003 for taking part in a PETA protest outside a KFC store. The inhumane killing of chickens. The inhumane killing of chickens. Boy, you're not going to win that one. If I see you outside a showcase, I'm going to blast you. Okay. Tom Morello, guitar player for Rage Against the Machine and Audioslave, was arrested in 2006. They were protesting rights for immigrant hotel workers, which was a real worthy cause. Nina Simone, this is a great one. The great Nina Simone protested the Vietnam War by not paying her taxes. I'm not sure how that worked out. But interestingly enough, she avoided the warrant for her arrest by moving to Barbados, where she reportedly had an affair with the prime minister. Boy, that's taking it to the limit.
All sounds pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, Joan Baez. I'm actually teaching my kids now about the 60s and the music and all the protesting. Joan Baez was extremely active in Vietnam protesting. She got arrested twice. She even spent over a month in jail. She blocked entrance to the Armed Forces Induction Center in Oakland, California. And she was very, very conscientious in that. Of course, Pussy Riot, Russia's baklava-wearing Putin objectors were now famous throughout the world for their arrest in 2012, where they danced in a church singing Mother of God, chase Putin away. I'm surprised they didn't get killed. 3 of them were convicted of hooliganism. That's a crime. Motivated. I think that's the same as trespassing, or what's the word I'm looking for when you destroy property?
Vandalism.
Vandalism, yeah, in the United States. Hooliganism, motivated by religious hatred, and they were released the following year after going on a hunger strike. So they spent the year in there. So I can go on and name a few. Do you think Billie Eilish is actually, I don't know, I don't want to say in the right here. I don't want to start debating abortion on the show or not, or just trying to get some attention or what? Skinner?
Well, my first thought is those people didn't go to that show to listen to her talk about abortion. They paid to listen to her sing her songs.
Okay, so you know what? That's the question I want to ask. Thank you for praising it like that. Should we take the stance of musicians are people too, and they live in this country too, and they should be able to do this or that, or should they separate their music from how they feel about what's going on in society?
Well, my problem with any celebrity is they use their status as a platform to say and do whatever the hell it is they feel necessary. It's like a lot of people gave or still give LeBron James a lot of crap for all the talk that he does. When I go to a baseball game or I go to a football game, basketball, if I go to an event, I'm there to watch the sport play. I'm not there to listen to the athlete talk about whatever's going on in the world. I'm going to that event, whether it's music, whether it's sports, to get away from reality for a period of time, usually 2 or 3 hours.
So let's clarify this. And I hope this is what you're saying, because this is where I am. I don't mind somebody using their status as a platform. I just think it should be separate from whatever it is they do.
Correct.
Like
that's
if I'm
exactly
going to the game, like, hey, Colin Kaepernick, I'm all for you kneeling to protest. Let's not do it at the game. I'm all for you saying whoever, whatever. Don't do it at the concert.
Right.
You know, I came to get away from that type of stuff. Would that be a fair assessment?
You want to go and sing and do your concert for 2.5 hours, get off stage and go backstage and then talk to the public, whether it's on TV or whatever. Fine. Don't do it on stage that people paid their hard-earned money to get away from that subject for that period of time.
Okay,
Am I
Fish,
wrong in
take it
saying it that
away,
way?
and then go into the pop culture, buddy.
I agree with that sentiment. I think it says, yeah, if I pay a ticket to go see the, we're not trying to say they're entertainers or trained animals and stuff. That's not what we're saying. So I'm with you 100%. Everybody deserves to protest. Everybody deserves to speak his or her mind. But you're right. At the venue, probably not that interested. But like you say, before or after, do whatever you want. Say whatever you want on social media. I don't really care. But yeah, I tend to agree.
Right.
At the event, let's keep it
Skinner
separated
made
a
a
little
good point. Music, sports, all this stuff is escapism. And we escape our daily grind. All that stuff is part of the daily grind. I don't want to hear it right now.
Yeah.
Okay, pop culture. Take it away.
Okay, well, I'm about to say something that's going to excite and give a lot of Gen X women a lot of tingly feelings.
Oh my goodness, I
That
need to learn
maybe
this.
maybe they have not experienced in quite a long time. Maybe at the Skinner house. I'm not sure. I'm not over there. I don't know. But
I think Miss Marcy's going to be pretty excited about this.
Yeah. So in 2022, the mixtape tour with New Kids on the Block will be hitting the road again with New Kids on the Block with some classic friends, Salt and Peppa, En Vogue, and Rick Astley will be hitting the road for a 50-plus date tour starting right here in our lovely state of Ohio in Cincinnati on May 10th of next year through Nashville, Dallas, Atlanta, and other cities. It wraps up in Washington, D.C. on July 23rd next summer. So New Kids on the Block hitting the road again. I saw a picture of them. I don't have it here, but these guys are holding up. Most of them pretty decent, So give to their credit. So yeah, I'm not interested myself, but certainly a lot of Gen X women, I'm sure, are very interested, and male fans too, of course. You don't have to be female to like New Kids on the Block, but probably most of them are. But there you have it.
That's interesting because Miss Marcy went to see them. I think it was a year, maybe 2 years ago. They did a mixtape tour. It was New Kids on the Block, and it was Salt and Peppa, and it was Cool Modi, I think, was one of the rappers. I can't remember which one it was. And I always made a comment. I said, make sure you take your cane, or don't be afraid to see a wheelchair up there on stage when they get out there to sing. Making those kind of jokes.
Mm-hmm.
But all seriousness aside, she told me that they had an absolute wonderful time.
Sure.
And hoped that they would do it again. And when we brought up the story in pre-production, she goes, "Oh yeah, we've already got plans to go to that concert, so they'll get to experience it one more time."
There you go.
All right. Well, look here. The last thing I want to do is get in trouble with Miss Marcy here.
Yeah, you don't want to piss her off.
No, I do not.
She'll take the Kenmore out on you.
Yes, I'm sure she will. Anyway, I'm not a fan of boy bands whatsoever. I find them nauseating. However, New Kids on the Block, I appreciate what they did. I'm a bigger fan of the Wahlberg brothers now since they got to acting.
Mm-hmm.
I love Mark Wahlberg and all he's done is action movies. He's one of my favorite action stars. And if you've ever seen Blue Bloods, I have never seen a person born to play a role like Donnie Wahlberg is on that show. I mean, you believe he is a born and bred New York City detective. My family loves that show. But I certainly am huge fans of Salt and Pepper, one of the great groups that have stood the test of time. En Vogue, one of the best singing groups, if not the best, in my opinion, ever. With all their accolades, totally underrated. My only remembrance of Rick Astley was the one song he had, and of course, In the black neighborhood, everybody thought he was black. Nobody knew he was white. But it sounds like a great fun tour. I appreciate the whole tour because it's when music was fun. And so I respect that tour. Have a ball. Go Miss Marcy.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. 80s, 90s music was definitely a lot of fun stuff, fun lyrics, and just having a good time. So, okay. So, as you mentioned, wear my Seinfeld, my retro logo shirt today. Seinfeld's making a lot of news over the past couple of days here. A couple of things. One is after 6 years on Hulu, the entire Seinfeld series, 9 seasons, has now moved over to Netflix as of October the 1st. So one thing, Jerry made a pretty cool new promo where he's like a Lego man version of himself. He's like a Lego body and his head, and there's like a Lego set that looks like his apartment and stuff like that. So check that out. That's kind of amusing and fun, but making a lot of negative news is that the aspect ratio that Netflix is broadcasting the show is getting a lot of negative press in social media and otherwise. So this was a 90s show, as we know, and most people know. So this was originally on the air in before HD, right? So when it was on, so it was a 4:3 aspect on television. It was basically more of a square, okay? And then the DVD sets that came out later, they broadcast it in the same way, but Netflix is putting it in a widescreen format of 16:9, and so some things are cropped that some are complaining take away from the show. So for one scene, for instance, there's a famous episode called The Pothole, where George is like complaining about a pothole in the street,
right?
And on the shot there for a couple moments, it's not long, the pothole is cropped out. So,
well, that kind of takes away from the scene, yeah.
That's what some people are complaining about here. So,
right.
So what they're saying is, maybe eventually Netflix may cave, and maybe you have an option to broadcast it in one format or the other, or if you're a really true fan of the original aspect, just go buy the DVD box set and watch it that way, basically.
Right.
So I don't know if you guys, if you have any thoughts on that at all, or is it just people being overly critical of what Netflix is doing as far as how they're broadcasting, or do you care one way or the other?
Truthfully, yeah. First of all, I announce some technical difficulties. We're without Mr. Porter here for the rest of the time that we're on the air, but with today's technology, I don't understand why there's an aspect ratio problem to begin with. If it's only going to be a scene here or there that it's going to cause an issue, it's a streaming show that's 20 plus years old. Get over it already, is my thought. You want to see the original, go buy the DVD sets that have the original show that's been remastered. This is a Netflix streaming site that you can go to and watch at your leisure. It's not the end of the world, if you ask me.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Okay. All right. So, and I also think just secondary topic here. Ben Roethlisberger should immediately retire, and they should bench him immediately. And Keith, if you have anything to say about that, now would be the time to.
Do not make me come over to your house.
I thought your whole mic was out. I'm sorry.
No,
okay.
just my Reaper.
Oh, okay. All right. No problem.
So, on the video side, you're going to be able to hear Mr. Porter finish the show. But on the podcast side, unfortunately, we have got some technical difficulties.
Yeah, so watch yourself.
If you're listening on podcast, if Keith did not speak up there, then he is fully agree that Ben Roethlisberger should immediately be benched and retire promptly, and just it's time to move on. So, okay. So another.
Don't pay for that.
Speaking of Netflix, there's a huge new show, number one on streaming on Netflix, and I think it's a number one streaming show right now in general. Squid Game. It's the internet's favorite show, is what it says here. So it's a Korean thriller poised to become, quote, the biggest non-English language show in the world, said Netflix's co-CEO Ted Sarandos. So it's only been out for 9 days, and it's just kind of killing it right now in the streaming. So the premise is basically it follows a guy played by, it doesn't matter, but he and hundreds of other desperate and deeply indebted contestants compete in a violent and often grotesque competition for about $38 million. Only one person can win the prize, and those who lose the series of children's games pay with their lives. So Squid Game is definitely big on social media. It's on TikTok. Hashtag Squid Game has been viewed more than 22.8 billion times. Now that's just a few more views than it Came From GenX videos on TikTok.
Just a touch.
Yeah, just a few more that we have, but we're trying to get up to that level here. So anyway, it sounds interesting. Is that something you guys might check out, or sounds too violent and weird, not really interested? So Keith, what do you think about Squid Game? Heard of it? Interested or not really?
I never heard of it, and I'll be honest with you, I need more information to make a really informed opinion of it. Sounds a little out there, so I'm gonna look into that and learn a little bit more about it. Maybe we'll talk about it again. But I've heard nothing about this. This is all news to me.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out. Skinner, you heard of it?
Yeah, I've got it here on my paperwork here. I'm gonna have to look it up. I have not heard of this show.
Okay.
The premise sounds pretty cool. It's graphic. I'm into the action type thing. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna check it out though. Definitely, it's piqued my interest.
Okay. We only have a couple minutes left here. We'll get into some other stuff more next week. Pat Robertson is retiring, and we'll get into more of that maybe next week here, guys, and stuff. Just a couple feel-good stories real fast here. William Shatner, who we all know played Captain Kirk, he is literally going up into space on Jeff Bezos's space travel company, Blue Origin. So Mr. Shatner is 90 years old now, and he'll be blasting off from West Texas on October the 12th, making him the oldest person to travel in space.
This is going to reignite Trekkie fans. I think it is an awesome thing. Yeah. It was meant to be.
Yep, I agree.
Absolutely. So hopefully it just smells like something could go wrong at some point when you're shooting people up into space like that. I don't know, but that's a pretty cool story.
100,000 pounds of rocket fuel under your butt. I don't know what can go wrong.
Oh, boy. Yeah, something's going to go wrong. So hopefully not to Mr. Shatner or anybody else that's going up there as civilian. I don't know. And the last one I had, I thought it was just a nice story here. So Chadwick Boseman, we know, played Black Panther in the Marvel series, and definitely I know we all really thoroughly enjoyed him in that role, and it's a real shame, losing him so early. Did a lot of good work. He was nominated for, I think, an Oscar after he passed away on some movie on Netflix. I can't think of it. Anyhow, Howard University is recognizing him and his impact on future generations. There's going to be a Chadwick A. Boseman Memorial Scholarship funded by Netflix. Actually, again, Netflix making the news. $5.4 million. It's going to provide incoming students in the newly reestablished College of Fine Arts with a 4-year scholarship to cover the full cost of university tuition. So just thought it was a nice gesture and a nice way to remember him. I'm assuming he went to Howard University, I'm guessing, or Howard University. Is that, and forgive me, it's a pretty prevalent Black university. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Howard University?
So, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So very good. So just a nice way to, I just thought it was a good, feel-good story to wrap up the show.
I'll just say this real quick.
Yeah.
And man, nobody's a bigger Chadwick Boseman fan than me. I mean, Black Panther, I loved him as James Brown, played Jackie Robinson, played some of the greatest roles. I love the guy. It just seems to me that's such a millennial move. There's so many I think have been around much longer, more deserving of that honor.
Very fair.
It is a high honor, and I'm happy, but I agree with what Mr. Porter just said it. There's been others that have been just as worthy prior to him. I agree.
And have been around 2 or 3 times as long.
Maybe he went there or something. I don't know. I guess I need to understand more of the particulars. But you're right. As far as acting and everything else, probably impacts on the industry, probably a lot more. You could name a lot of folks. But anyway, still a nice thing to see, and Netflix for stepping up there and all of that there. So with that, we are right up on the hour here, gentlemen. So Skinner,
new show. If you haven't seen it, watch La Brea.
Oh, is it NBC? Keith?
Yeah, great show.
Like the La Brea Tar Pit or something like that? Is that sort of what it is? Is it a fault or
something?
It's actually
a town called La Brea, but yeah, it's a fault opens up the size of half the city and not half the city, but it's pretty huge, and people fall through it, and they actually don't go to a place. They actually go back in time. They're in the same place. It's really interesting.
They go back in time in the same city?
That's what it seems like. It's only been on 1 episode, but that's what it seems like is what's going on.
But could you imagine that, Skinner? So it's like Keith's like, "Hey, I'm doing this reality football show. You guys want to join?" We say, "Nope,
not
interested. Not interested to get into the crazy world of podcasting. Who knows?
What's a podcast?
Who knows? Who knows where our lives might have been."
That one day down at the basement at Harding, and look where we are today. So,
anyway, Skinner, do you want to take us out, sir? Please.
We can do that, folks. Appreciate your listen once again. It's been great honor sharing the screen and the mic with you, gentlemen. I thoroughly enjoy doing this each week, and I hope our listeners. If they don't agree with everything, I hope they can take what we say and agree with certain parts, and we can give aspects that they may not have thought about when they hear these stories in their own rights. But so for
I have no idea what you just said. I just want to make that clear. I have no idea what you...
We have our own opinions. A lot of times our opinions are different.
Yeah.
But if somebody has their own thought on a subject, we're hoping that the information that we're providing can give them an avenue to rethink it, is I guess what I'm getting at. But with that being said...
Mike Jr., you have some editing to do.
Yeah, right. No kidding. So for Keith Porter and Brian Fisher, I'm getting the hell out of here for the week. We will see you guys next week. Take care, folks.
Bid you very well, everybody.
What would I do without you?
Stay strong and GenX. By the way, if you're not listening, watch on video to get Keith Smith's audio, folks. There you go.